What's up, guys? This is Acid Roots. I'm going to talk to you about the 15th anniversary of American Idiot by Green Day. So yeah, I would have to say that as far as this actually goes, I mean it's a good release that paying attention to it. That was half my life ago that happened. So it's interesting just to see that and how it's grown with age. I mean, really uh, when you think of like the album cuts, there were a couple on here like Extraordinary Girl and then Are We the Waiting that I also liked. But when I bought this album last year, I didn't. I just went right for the singles, and I think I'm gonna have to. I mean, I tried messing with this album like 5 years ago, and I liked it a bunch back then, but then I kind of forgot about it, and I also messed with it like 6 years ago. But it kind of gets back and forth with how many times I've tried to. But I just kind of like the reception that this album received. I mean, when I go to All Music, which is a website I like to view for music reviews, it basically gave this album 5 stars. And nowadays, the standard precipitation for what music is it usually gets maybe a 5, 6, or a 7, but never like a 9 or a 10 or a 9.5 or something. And I don't know, I mean, it just feels like the old heads don't really want like the new stuff to kind of eclipse it, but the new heads don't really care about quality. So it's a classic trap that happens, but at least up to 2004 or almost 2005, that wasn't that much of a deal. It actually comes off as like, yeah, this is something that, is just admittedly good. And really, I mean, Green Day was kind of at a point, it was said that because after their Cigarettes and Valentine's album got stolen, they had to think fast, or otherwise they could, be on the way out. I don't think it would have demolished them, but it may have set them back to just being like a, pretty close to an indie band or something. Because you got to understand that they were large 94, 95, mid 90s and stuff. I mean, I don't know every single one of their albums, but to say how many bad albums they had, I mean, it feels kind of weird just to not like the album that came out in the year 2000 and then say, they're done. But, I mean, that was 4 years later. So they did take some time off. And then after that album, after American Idiot, they took off another 5 years. But, I mean, that was kind of the thing. I mean, for the longest while, I actually did want more Green Day. I remember, back in the day, hearing those songs and seeing the music videos, and I was like, damn, where are they at? Because I remember I'd get them confused with like Panic at the Disco and then My Chemical Romance. I mean, they dressed fairly similar. I mean, a lot of it was Hot Topic and kind of gothic, kind of alternative vibes throughout. I mean, I like the way that Billy Joel Armstrong happened to dress up. I think the rest of the band did too, but it was, I mean, that was 2005, circa 2005. It was trendy, so, but I'm losing the point that I was trying to say here, but yeah, I would get them confused with some of those bands, and it's kind of like, damn, I mean, me paying attention to a song like Boulevard of Broken Dreams, which is their highest charting song, it's like, well, how the hell didn't they manage to, get another song that size? I mean, it took them until 2009, and I think obviously the sweet spot that they had back then, it seemed like if they would have dropped something in 2007 or late 2006, it probably, it would have been even better. I mean, that album probably would have done even better. But the thing about this project is it's a concept album. I mean, it wasn't just, rock saying, let's make a song about like what Linkin Park does about bad relationships or changing or something like that. I mean, it was just, I mean, they had the songs, but it was all within, they said it was a rock opera. That's what they were intending. So I just kind of, I mean, I go with it, but, mostly when I listen to singles, I'm paying attention more to just the melodies. But I mean, really, it just depends. I mean, the mood that you're kind of in, whether or not it's, you want to analyze the project, but, it's nowadays, that's just what I do is when I hear Boulevard of Broken Dreams, it's a real lazy and just kind of pretty haunting song that still stands to reason now. It's the main thing behind it. But me listening to a couple of the album cuts, I mean, there were a handful. I think I'm gonna try out. I mean, I think I would like Saint Jimmy. I mean, that one kind of reminded me of American Idiot, but I think I do like Extraordinary Girl, and then kind of Are We the Waiting. So I mean, the only thing I wasn't so sure of was just the skit, the 5-part songs and that sort of thing. But for what it is, I mean, it's a good part of rock. I mean, it really doesn't even sound like a Green Day album. I mean, when you compare this to Dookie or one of those projects, I mean, most of the time they just came off as kind of lazy, almost college rock type stuff that just was alternative and punk in mind. But I mean, it was just very faint on this project. It just didn't feel as much inclined to do that. And I know those guys were in their 30s by this point, but I don't know. I that may be like the only thing is if this would have been an album, but not so well. Whatever, it just is. I just was kind of. I want like. I guess what I'm trying to say. I do want this album again, but just not so adhesive. Just to kind of make more songs like Holiday and stuff, but just in the format of Dookie. So that's kind of the situation, but I don't know. They also dropped albums back in 2012. I mean, it just is they've only dropped so many in the past several years, but I don't know. This seems to be their defining piece of work. So this is kind of, I mean, that's the thing is just for me to talk about, whether or not this is their best moment. I mean, to me, this is almost like perfect autumn music when I look at it. I mean, really, it just has that alternative feel. I mean, I need to get to know this movement better, but I do like the idea of, like the smelling like cigarettes and, just the chains and wearing black and the eyeliner and, just, rink-a-dink cars and that sort of thing. And just kind of, it's interesting because obviously Billy Joe Armstrong and some of them, it just makes you wonder the kind of music that they would listen to. What kind of rock he's mellowing out to, like if it would actually be Marilyn Manson or whoever. I mean, it may be surprising, but if he was living the way he was conveying in those songs, I'd say that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, this brief reflection of 15 years there.